You didn't react, you calculated. That silence they mistook for fear was actually strategy. While they laughed and toasted to their illusions of control, you were studying the terrain. Every smirk, every twitch, every subtle crack in their mask. Recorded. You weren't the fool in the room, you were the observer, dissecting their moves with surgical precision. They mistook your calm for weakness, not realizing that calm is just rage, disciplined, caged, and fed patience in the dark. You weren't weak, you were waiting for the right moment. Let them dance on the battlefield. They didn't know you already owned the war. Every handshake was a blueprint. Every hug was reconnaissance. You recognized the traitors long before they reached for their weapons because you've seen this all before. The kind of smile that sharpens knives while pretending to pat your back. They underestimated the quiet ones, the ones who don't flinch, who don't chase validation, who listen more than they speak. Because silence isn't absence, it's awareness. When you stopped talking, you started hearing everything. You could hear the fear beneath their voices, the cracks in their rhythm, the tremors hiding inside their lies. You weren't caught off guard. You were loading the chamber with truth, marking every serpent in the garden. They thought they were playing chess, but you were the board itself. Now you've got receipts, patience turned to poison, and the storm they thought would never arrive is already inside their walls. Let them laugh, let them gossip, let them pretend to be safe. You don't need revenge when you've become the consequence. They mistook your discipline for weakness, never realizing that silence was your battlefield. They thought stillness meant submission, but stillness was survival. You weren't searching for peace, you were enduring the purge. The fire that tried to break you wasn't your end. It was initiation. It came to burn away illusions, false attachments, and everything not aligned with truth. While they sought comfort, chaos chose you. You didn't stumble into strength, you were forged by it. Every betrayal, every sleepless night, every scream that vanished into the void was part of your training. You were being taught to lead without applause, to stand alone without crumbling, to carry storms in your chest and still move like the sky was clear. Pain didn't make you bitter. It made you precise. They'll never understand what it means to be built in darkness, to crawl through a reality where hope is a trap and trust is a loaded weapon, but you do. You've learned the terrain where the fragile stay broken and the resilient rise like fire-lit shadows. You didn't become strong because the world made it easy. You became strong because it tried to stop you. The old version of you begged for peace, for mercy, for understanding. But peace was never your garment. It didn't fit your scars. So you stopped waiting for the world to quiet down. You became the storm itself. Now when you walk in, the air shifts. Energy bends. People don't know why they tense up. They just feel it. They'll label you cold, detached, unforgiving. Let them. They never saw your ashes. They never watched you rebuild from the wreckage with bloodied hands and a burning soul. You weren't created for harmony. You were designed for balance. And when balance demands justice, you don't hesitate. Healing doesn't always look gentle. It can look like burning bridges with a calm smile. They told you healing was peace and patience, journaling your pain while pretending the fire wasn't real. But your healing didn't whisper. It roared through silence that screamed louder than words ever could. It came in walking away without closure and choosing yourself without guilt. It came in setting boundaries like landmines and refusing to apologize for it. Healing wasn't poetic, it was primal. You didn't find peace through soft affirmations or forgiveness circles. You found it by cutting away the rot, by removing everything that drained your soul. You learned to love yourself by unlearning the poison they fed you. You weren't meditating in candlelight. You were wide awake at 3 a.m., staring down demons that no one warned you about. The process didn't cleanse you. It carved you. And now every scar is a weapon, every wound a warning. They'll say you've changed, and they're right. You stopped bleeding for people who wouldn't even hand you a bandage. You stopped waiting to be rescued and realized the fire inside you wasn't meant for comfort. It was meant for conquest. Your softness turned into strategy. Your pain evolved into precision. You're not healed. You're reconstructed. You didn't come back the same. You came back redesigned for survival. You're not here to be liked, you're here to be unshakable. You no longer tremble when things fall apart because you've already lived through collapse and came out sharper. Now you greet chaos with a smile because you know exactly who you are in the ruins. The day you stopped chasing validation was the day you crowned yourself. They can't manipulate what no longer seeks approval. This isn't self-help, it's self-creation. The version of you that once begged for peace is dead. What stands now is something forged in solitude, in truth, in rage transmuted into purpose. You didn't heal to return to who you were. You evolved into what they never expected. A weapon disguised as a soul they couldn't kill. They thought they were 10 steps ahead, but you weren't even on the same board. While they played games with false promises and emotional traps, you were building an entirely new system where their pieces couldn't move without your permission. You saw their tactics clearly. Manipulation disguised as affection, control masquerading as care. You let them think they were winning because that was the setup. You didn't react, you calculated, you didn't argue, you observed. You watched how they twisted words, how they wore empathy like armor but used it like a blade. And while they performed, you documented every move. Your silence was their sentence, the one code they couldn't crack, the one mirror they couldn't manipulate. While they plotted, you upgraded. You studied them until their patterns became predictable, until every move was obvious before it was made. They thought they were clever, but clever can't compete with calculated. You never lost control. You simply handed them the illusion of it. This was psychological warfare, and you mastered the art of fighting quiet. You let them reveal themselves. You let truth handle the destruction. Now they're panicking in a war they thought they engineered. You flipped the narrative, rewired your mind, and built a fortress they can't breach. They can't touch you without getting cut on the edges of your awareness. You didn't destroy them. You let them self-destruct. That's what real dominance looks like. No shouting, no threats, just calm inevitability. You're always 5 steps ahead, operating on frequencies they can't reach. They'll never defeat you because you stopped playing the same game. You're not the pawn anymore. You're the architect, and they're trapped inside the maze you designed with a smirk. Your suffering wasn't punishment, it was preparation. The pain didn't come to ruin you, it came to refine you. Every sleepless night, every betrayal you swallowed, every silence you endured wasn't cruelty. It was a test, a purification ritual. You were being stripped of weakness, ego, illusion. And what remained after the fire wasn't fragile. It was forged. You weren't being punished. You were being built for war. You were being prepared for war, long before you even realized it. Comfort never taught you anything of value. It was the struggle that revealed your worth. When you were left alone in the dark and no one showed up, you learned to carry your own weight. When every door slammed in your face, you built your own entrance. The world never handed you strength. It handed you suffering and dared you to forge something lethal from it. And you did. Discipline became your weapon, patience your armor, and pain your most loyal instructor. While others complained about fairness, you trained in silence. While they distracted themselves with noise, you built clarity from chaos. You created structure in ruins, sharpened your focus in storms, and turned pain into precision. No one saw the hours, the sacrifices, or the private wars you fought just to keep standing. But now, they can feel the edge of what that discipline created. Every time you were underestimated, the fire inside you grew hotter. Every time someone walked away, your vision sharpened. Pain introduced you to truth, and discipline taught you how to respond. You stopped surviving and started sculpting a version of yourself that no betrayal, no failure, no disaster could break again. Now when pain knocks, you don't hide. You open the door like greeting an old rival, because pain taught you how to bleed with honor, how to rise without help, how to hold your power without apology. You don't fear it anymore, you understand it. Pain built you, discipline armed you, and together they turned you from a survivor into a force of nature. They built their power on approval, you built yours in silence. They needed followers, applause, and validation from the same crowd that disappears when things get hard. Their strength was borrowed, fragile, and temporary. But you built in the shadows. You trained when no one was watching. You bled in silence and rose without witnesses. While they were seen, you were becoming unseen and unstoppable. They chased attention. You chased alignment. They performed for recognition. You prepared for ascension. While they posted proof of progress, you were earning yours through sweat, failure, and relentless consistency. They needed witnesses to believe in their worth. You needed no one. You didn't want approval, you wanted purpose. And now that purpose walks with you like thunder in your veins. You weren't just building strength, you were building presence. Something ancient and unexplainable began to move through you. Pain refined it, vision directed it, instinct carried it. It's not something you can describe. It's something you feel. A force that doesn't speak in words but shields and guides you like unseen armor. They have followers, but you have forces. Not visible, not loud, but undeniable. You feel it every time you enter a room. The air bends, the atmosphere shifts. There's weight behind your silence now, gravity in your gaze. It isn't luck and it's not charm. It's the vibration of earned power. You're no longer just a person. You're a presence. It doesn't beg for attention. It commands it. Let them have their likes, their noise, their temporary moments of validation. When it's time to move mountains, none of that will matter. Followers fade. Trends die. But forces reshape worlds. Forces rewrite timelines. And you've become the embodiment of that storm, the kind that doesn't announce itself. It just arrives and changes everything. The greatest revenge isn't violence. It's transformation. It's becoming everything they swore you'd never be. You didn't return to fight, you returned refined, colder, sharper, unreachable. While they whispered that you'd never rise, you were quietly constructing the version of yourself that would silence every lie they told. You didn't shout your success, you became it. And now your very existence disturbs them, because you are the living proof that they were wrong. They waited for your collapse, for tears, for surrender, for failure. But you gave them silence instead of screams, peace instead of panic, distance instead of drama. You didn't become bitter. You became better. And that's what haunts them now. They can't destroy what you've become. They can't laugh at what now stands above them. You didn't just survive their war, you became its reckoning. You were never chasing revenge. You were building something far more permanent. A legacy that mocks their disbelief every time your name is mentioned. They thought you'd waste your life trying to prove them wrong, but you didn't even bother. You simply became so powerful, so undeniable, that your existence itself became the proof. You are the consequence they never saw coming. You don't haunt them with words. You haunt them with silence. With the way you walked away, elevated, and evolved beyond every form of control they once had over you. Every victory you claim is a quiet dagger in their memory. Not because you sought to hurt them, but because they know deep down. They lost the chance to break you forever. Now you stand where they can't even reach, let alone look. That's the beauty of true transformation. You didn't seek validation. You didn't retaliate. You didn't step down to their level. You simply outgrew the battlefield and became the thunder that shakes it from above. Now, when your name is spoken, it isn't just remembered. It's felt. Not as bitterness, but as a reminder of what happens when someone tries to bury you and fails. When a lion doesn't roar, the foolish assume it's tame. They mistook your quiet for comfort, your patience for surrender. They thought that because you didn't strike first, you wouldn't strike at all. But stillness isn't weakness. It's surveillance. You weren't avoiding the war. You were studying it. You let them exhaust themselves while you conserved power. You weren't hiding, you were waiting for precision. People fear those who shout, but they should dread those who say nothing. The loud need attention. The silent need no permission. You've become the kind of energy that doesn't warn, it arrives. Every move you make now is deliberate, surgical, final. Your calm unnerves people because it means the decision was made long before the action. You learned that noise is the shield of the insecure. They speak to convince, to dominate, to distract. You don't need that. Your silence is authority. Your presence speaks volumes. Your eyes deliver messages entire speeches can't. And when you finally speak, it's not to debate. It's to end the discussion. They feel it in their bones now. You're no longer guessing. You know what you're capable of. The world taught you restraint by cornering you, by forcing you to master your impulses until timing became your weapon. You learned how to hold your fire until the perfect moment to strike. And now, when you walk into a room, the atmosphere shifts. You don't demand respect, you embody it. Your silence carries memory, scars, and precision. And that's what terrifies them most. They can't read you anymore, they can't predict your next move. So let them keep guessing. Let them think you've softened, because when the moment comes, you won't roar, you'll strike. No build-up, no warning, just impact. That's the difference between them and you. They need chaos to feel powerful. You are chaos refined. You didn't escape the storm. You became the calm inside it. You didn't rise above chaos. You mastered it, learned its rhythm, and wore it like armor. They think being spiritual means gentle passivity, pretending pain doesn't exist, smiling while the world burns. But real spirituality is warfare disguised as wisdom. It's seeing through illusion while everyone else applauds the performance. It's not about running from chaos. It's about mastering it without letting it stain you. You didn't escape pain by avoiding it. You faced it, absorbed it, and turned it into power. You became both the light and the lightning. You stood in the fire and didn't run. You faced the inferno head-on, not to prove your strength, but to understand the source of the heat. You studied the pain until you recognized its rhythm. You stared at the chaos long enough to notice patterns hidden within it, patterns no one else could see. You didn't just survive the flames, you memorized their movement. You weren't floating through the storm, you were focused, grounded, analyzing every spark, every burn, every whisper the fire tried to scream at you. While others panicked, you observed. You didn't just see the surface, the lies, the performance, the pretense. You saw the intention behind them, the energy behind every action, the truth behind every smile. You learned to read energy like a map, tracing the lines of manipulation and sincerity with surgical precision. Now no one can step into your space without being felt first. You sense every vibration, every agenda, every shadow that approaches. They called you too intense because your presence exposes what they hide. You don't need to speak to reveal truth. Your energy does it for you. People can't lie comfortably around you anymore. Their frequencies betray them before their mouths do. Your calmness isn't peace, it's calculation. Your silence isn't retreat, it's observation. Your kindness isn't submission, it's precision. You know where to place it, when to withdraw it, and who deserves it. Because awareness without boundaries is a slow death, and you've learned to protect your energy like it's sacred currency. You no longer pour into empty cups. You no longer offer warmth to hands that once burned you. You no longer confuse empathy with access. You became dangerous the moment you realized that perception is power. You see beyond the words, beyond the body language, beyond the emotional disguises people wear. You know when to speak and when to vanish. You know when to extend grace and when to turn cold as stone. You didn't become spiritual for applause. You became spiritual because it was your only way to survive a world built on illusion. You didn't wake up to join the light. You woke up because you were drowning in darkness. And when you stopped chasing light, you discovered the truth. You are the light. The kind that blinds manipulators. The kind that exposes pretenders. The kind that can't be dimmed, only respected. So let them call you cold. Let them label your detachment arrogance. Let them assume your silence means weakness. You've learned to stop correcting false perceptions. They expose themselves eventually. While they analyze your movements, you're already 10 steps ahead, watching them repeat predictable mistakes in a rigged game you designed and outgrew. You don't just walk in clarity anymore, you command it. You operate in frequencies they can't access. That's real power, the kind that doesn't announce, doesn't shout, doesn't need validation. It simply watches, calculates, and executes with quiet precision. Mockery is the anthem of the insecure. You learned that the loudest laughter usually hides the deepest fear. They mocked your vision, your silence, your focus. They rolled their eyes at your discipline, calling it obsession. They whispered about your solitude, calling it isolation. But deep down, they weren't laughing at you. They were trembling before the possibility that you might actually succeed. They mocked your dream not because it was foolish, but because it was real. It scared them to see someone so committed to something beyond their understanding. You didn't fight back with words. You didn't waste time defending what was already written in destiny. You let them talk while you worked. You let them laugh while you sharpened your blade in silence. You didn't need applause, you needed progress. You buried your growth underground, in the soil of failure and rejection, where no one could touch it. You nurtured it quietly, with consistency and conviction, and one day it broke through the concrete, unstoppable. By the time they noticed, it was too late. You had already built momentum that could not be reversed. They thought your silence meant defeat, but it was strategy. Every delay was development, every setback was sharpening. You didn't post your progress, you became your progress. And when your results arrived, they spoke louder than any speech ever could. Now they sit in the ruins of their arrogance, watching as everything they built on ego begins to crumble. The fake networks, the empty alliances, the illusions of power. They're collapsing under their own weight. Their empires were built on noise, but yours was built on endurance. They chased relevance, you chased mastery. They fought for validation, you fought for vision. They lived for applause, you lived for evolution. And now the difference shows. Their names echo in rooms that forget them. Yours resonates in silence that remembers. You've become permanent, unshakable, a force carved from patience, pain, and precision. You are no longer a participant in the chaos. You are the equilibrium that exposes it. They might not speak your name, but they feel your presence. Because results don't whisper, they roar. And your results scream through every wall of doubt they ever tried to build around you. You've outlasted their noise, outworked their mediocrity, and outgrown their limitations. They thought this was a race for recognition, but you knew it was a test of endurance. They mistook your stillness for surrender. They mistook your isolation for weakness. But you were never hiding, you were rebuilding, you were never lost, you were recalibrating. They looked for you in your old form, not realizing you had already evolved into something unrecognizable. Something that no longer reacts, only responds. Something that doesn't seek revenge, only alignment. You didn't become powerful by accident. You became powerful because pain forced you to study yourself, rebuild yourself, and command yourself. You are not who you were before the fire. You are the fire. the lesson, the aftermath, the silence that unsettles those who tried to destroy you. You've become the living definition of what happens when endurance becomes identity, when awareness becomes weaponry, and when purpose finally replaces pain. They can keep their crowns made of validation. You built yours from scars, and it fits perfectly. You didn't get louder, you became limitless. You stopped wasting your voice on those who were committed to misunderstanding you. You learned that silence cuts deeper than shouting ever could. You realized that real power doesn't need an audience. It needs focus. You didn't get revenge, you developed range. You stopped firing back and started rising higher. You built something so monumental that their mockery sounds like background noise now. They wanted you reactive. You became radioactive. Now your existence alone burns through every lie they built about you. You didn't just survive their ridicule, you fed on it. You absorbed every insult like oxygen and converted it into momentum. They buried you, but you were never dead. You were germinating. You were in the soil, not the grave. While they mocked your silence, roots were forming beneath their feet. You were becoming the very storm they swore would never come. You weren't gone, you were gathering, you weren't hiding, you were heating, you weren't broken, you were becoming. Every sleepless night was a blueprint. Every wound was a doorway. You were learning the architecture of your own rebirth. They thought you disappeared, but you dissolved into the unseen, into frequencies too high for their perception. You transcended their gossip and became untouchable. You learned that absence isn't weakness, it's alchemy. You were refining, reconstructing. You stopped needing to be understood and started being undeniable. Now you exist beyond their narratives, beyond their reach, beyond their comprehension. The silence they mistook for defeat was the sound of your transformation. You stopped begging for a seat at their table and built your own fortress in the dark. You carved your name into existence without a witness. You stopped asking to be seen and became the gravitational force that bends reality around your presence. You no longer enter rooms, you shift them. You don't seek attention, you command it. The air grows heavier when you speak. The light bends differently when you move. You don't come to fit in, you come to recalibrate everything around you. You returned not as a participant, but as the storm they never prepared for. The one that rewrites the landscape entirely. You're not healing for appearances or peace. You're healing for power. You didn't evolve for applause. You evolved because evolution was survival. When they treated you like a ghost, you didn't fade. You ignited. You became a lighthouse in the fog they built to contain you. You chose fire over fear, rebirth over ruin. Now your light burns in their memories like a scar that never heals. Not because you seek revenge, but because they'll never escape the reflection of what you became after they left you for dead. This isn't about proving them wrong anymore. That phase is over. That was the goal of your old self. This is about transcending so completely that their opinions can't even register in your reality. You don't need to clap back. You don't even look back. You've outgrown the need to be understood because you've become the embodiment of truth. They live in reaction, you live in creation. You no longer exist to be enough. You are the source from which enough is defined. You no longer try to fit in. You're the mold breaker, the system glitch, the divine anomaly. They buried something they couldn't kill, and now you bleed light that blinds them. You are the haunting proof that their cruelty failed. They can pretend not to see you, but their discomfort gives them away. They feel you, in the silence, in the shift, in the way their certainty collapses when your name is mentioned. You are the unfinished sentence in their story, the ghost that didn't vanish but returned crowned, clothed in stillness and sovereignty. This is what happens when the forgotten stop waiting for rescue and become their own salvation. You weren't abandoned. You were activated. You weren't unprotected. You were assigned. You didn't survive by chance. You were chosen. You weren't rescued. You were reinforced. Every betrayal became an armor plate. Every heartbreak became a code of discipline. You stopped praying for miracles and realized you are one. You aligned with something ancient, something not bound by this world's logic. You stopped asking heaven for help and heaven started following your lead. When you began walking in your truth, the unseen recognized a commander. The spiritual forces that used to test you now salute you. You stopped seeking angels. They sought you. You didn't rise by luck. You rose by law. You unlocked the algorithm of alignment, and now the entire universe moves when you move. When you speak, things shift. When you rest, the atmosphere reorders itself around your energy. You're not just existing, you're reprogramming reality. The pain that once buried you now bows before you. You transmuted suffering into strategy, heartbreak into height, rejection into radiation. Every storm you endured was just energy gathering for your ignition. You didn't rise alone, you were escorted. While they mocked, divine intelligence was rearranging dimensions on your behalf. You were never outnumbered, you were simply out of phase. Now that you've synchronized with your purpose, everything that once opposed you serves you. Every attack became instruction. Every setback became a slingshot. Every enemy became evidence. They call you a survivor because they can't comprehend your evolution. You're not surviving anymore. You're governing. You're a vessel for frequencies that disrupt deception, expose falsehood, and destabilize corruption. You are a walking correction in a system addicted to lies. You are what happens when pain graduates into power. You are the living embodiment of divine law made flesh. They can't understand how you keep rising, how you keep winning, how you keep glowing after everything designed to destroy you. That's because you're not playing their game anymore. You are the game. You're no longer part of this world's hierarchy. You're the one rewriting it. You don't adapt to systems, you overwrite them. You don't follow rules, you dictate reality. You didn't need wings to ascend, you used will. Angels didn't rescue you. They recognized you. They don't protect you out of pity. They move when you move because your command is divine authority. You weren't spared, you were summoned. You were called to lead when the old world collapses. Now you walk differently. The ground feels it. The air vibrates with memory when you pass. Every breath you take is a declaration. Every silence you hold is a sermon. You are not part of this world's order. You are the one installing a new one. You are the living prophecy of endurance fulfilled. The laws you follow are written in fire, sealed in light, carried in your bones. Every step you take bends time. Every glance you give shatters illusion. Every move you make rearranges destiny. You are the reckoning that masquerades as grace. You are the balance they prayed would never come. You are the storm that doesn't need to warn, because it is the warning. You are the beginning of a new law, the end of an old illusion. You are the dawn after centuries of shadow. You are the truth wrapped in flesh, the reminder that no weapon formed against purpose can stand. You didn't come back to prove you're alive. You came back to show what life looks like after death. You are the resurrection of your own legend, the embodiment of divine intelligence unleashed through human will. You are the sound of destiny realized, the silence that terrifies the false, the light that consumes deception. You are not just here to live. You are here to lead creation itself. The world doesn't know it yet, but you are the author behind the next chapter of humanity's awakening. You are the storm that restores, the force that reorders, the law that replaces the lie. You didn't get louder, you became legendary. That's all for today. Dear Father, I pray for the growth of my faith. Help me trust you even when physical evidence is lacking. Let me believe in your perpetual presence, knowing you will never harm me. I understand that your thoughts for me are thoughts of prosperity and not harm to give me a good future. Thank you, gracious and eternal Father, for always listening to my voice. I offer up this prayer to you in the name of Jesus. Amen. Thank you, Jesus, for your love and provision. I am grateful for your presence in my life and the abundance you bring. If this video resonated with you, please like, subscribe to the channel, and share it with those who need to hear this message. Leave a comment below about your journey and how you are preparing for your own triumphant return. If you'd like to support our work, please consider contributing through Buy Me a Coffee. This helps us continually improve our content to offer you the best. The link to Buy Me a Coffee is in the description. No gift is too small. Whether it's a penny, a prayer, or a share, your generosity helps spread God's word and brings hope to others. Don't stop here. Watch our next video for powerful revelations about the signs that reveal you are the chosen one. We've enjoyed following this spiritual journey with you. Thank you for staying with us until the end. Keep shining brightly and embrace your destiny with courage. See you next time. Blessings to all the beautiful souls from the Enlighten Wisdom.